Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1, Deathworlder Pain Resistance, written by Random 3X. Thomas walked into the med unit of the ship he had recently joined. They wanted to do a general evaluation, basically a routine checkup. Thomas readied a small folder in his bag for when the inevitable happened. Thomas, please have a seat, Pliskin, a large lion-looking humanoid, said, gesturing to a seat in his examination room. I'll just change the settings to human, and we can begin, he said, baring his teeth in what Thomas assumed was the approximation of a human smile. Sure thing, I've got a file with my medical history explained, Thomas explained, as he reached into his bag to retrieve the bundle of documents, only to stop when Pliskin held up a claw to stop him. That won't be necessary. The scanner can identify issues even your primitive race can't identify, Pliskin said, with another attempt at a smile. Thomas just held his tongue. It was still a prevalent opinion held amongst the Alliance members that humans weren't worth the oxygen scrubbers used. Okay, hold still and don't panic. They're just shiny lights, Pliskin said, with the tone doctors reserve for infants. Thomas resisted the urge to rebuff his insulting attitude. The machine shot out several visible lights as it began to sweep over his body, obviously scanning him. This was something Thomas struggled to understand. It seemed more like a movie to make the beams visible with various tools. The tools human doctors used could do that without needing to be showy. He half suspected that was why they used this. Make a big song and dance about the primitive races. Okay, the scan is complete, Pliskin said, as the display he was holding pinged and he began to whir with the results. So healthy as a horse, eh, Doc? Thomas said, repressing a smile, knowing half of what must be showing. Most amusing at this moment was the big lion man somehow was going deathly pale. So many diseases, he muttered, as he thought he stealthily moved out of Thomas's reach. Knew it. I'm the healthiest one here, Thomas grinned, standing and approaching the now scrambling lion man. Stay back, Pliskin near squealed in terror. Okay, so tell me, Doc, what's your scanner say? Thomas asked, focusing his gaze on the now cornered doctor. You have countless viruses and diseases. If I didn't know your race was so primitive, I'd suggest that you were a biological weapon, Pliskin said, looking back at Thomas. Oh, which ones? Thomas asked curiously. Pliskin only flicked his display onto the larger screen, reading through it. Thomas couldn't see where the fear-inducing ones were. I only see the usual stuff and the remnants of vaccines, Thomas said, giving the list a read. Usual stuff, Pliskin repeated in a higher octave. Yeah, chickenpox, common cold, tetanus shot here, and usual childhood vaccines, Thomas explained, pointing to each corresponding disease. These are common illnesses, Pliskin said in growing shock. Yes, back where I'm from, there are a lot of worse ones, Thomas said with a shrug as he reached to retrieve his medical history bundle. Okay, what about these genetic anomalies? Pliskin asked as he flicked the new list onto the screen, pausing at his retrieval. Thomas walked up to the display. One moment, Thomas said as he took out his glasses and put them on to read the smaller script clearer. Well, this one is bad eyesight. Got that from my mum's side of the family, he said, pointing to one item. That one isn't fun, he said, pointing at another. What does it do? Pliskin asked in what was quickly becoming a morbid fascination. These mean agony most of the day, Thomas said with a shrug. Agony? Pliskin repeated, confused. Lots of pain. But meh. Thomas finished with a shrug. You have a medical condition that leaves you in constant pain, and you seem apathetic, Pliskin asked, trying to get some handle on the anomaly his years of medical experience could not prepare him for. A genetic condition, not much can be done about it, but endure it, Thomas replied with another shrug as he continued reading the list. Pliskin, though, had a look about him that suggested he suspected the human to be exaggerating. After all, humans were from a backwater primitive world. Holding out a headband, he offered it to Thomas. This is a sensory unifier band. It'll allow me to experience your issues myself. It'll allow me to identify specific ailments, Pliskin said as he threw the band at Thomas, not wanting to get near him still. Okay, sure, Thomas agreed, putting it on his head. Pliskin placed his own band on his head so he could experience the sensation of Thomas. Thomas watched this all unfold and began to panic as he shouted for the nurse to help. The moment he activated the device, Pliskin started screaming before his eyes rolled to the back of his head. He collapsed, unconscious. After a few moments, the hasty use of smelling salts, Pliskin awoke and looked even more terrified. "You endure that much? That could kill any other race!" Pliskin roared, very much resembling the corresponding earthly species. "Well, you get used to it," Thomas shrugged, not really understanding the issue. A few aches and pains and having an early onset of arthritis wasn't fun, but it wasn't much to cry about. "Doctor, did you not read the pamphlet for humans?" a rather frustrated nurse asked. Pliskin just mumbled something before meeting the baleful glare of the nurse. "I skimmed over it," he finally admitted. "They are primitive, so it couldn't be that relevant." He added defensively, "Sir, humans are from a Class 4 death world," the nurse explained. Thomas, watching this, had learned something new and very metal. He would have to spread word on his death metal band comms boards. But that means he could outsurvive everyone on the ship," Pliskin screeched, pointing at Thomas, who seemed mystified. "This is the case, sir. He was just told to give you his medical records and get your rubber stamper. Did you not read the memo?" the nurse asked pointedly at Pliskin. To drive the final nail in, Thomas took out a bundle of documents that he'd been asked to provide and gave a toothy grin of his own. End of story. Story number 2. Human FTL is insane. Written by Fox Corp. Most sensible, sapient species progressed upon a well-beaten path of development. Outliers either went a little faster or a little slower, changing up some of the general steps. One constant, however, was the method of FTL travel. Each successful sapient spacefarer utilized the tried-and-true wormhole drive. Everyone had varying levels of safety, but overall it had a 75% success rate. Not excellent, not terrible. The most skillful species had a success rate of up to 99%. Humanity has a success rate of 100%, but they achieved it in a way so reckless and downright insane that the entire galaxy has still refused to adopt it. They call it the True Vacuum Utilization. Well, the name doesn't sound like much. It really is something to behold. The process takes many years, sometimes centuries to properly perform, but once established, it works perfectly. The process is as follows. Step 1. Lay down a path with slower-than-light construction drones. This step prevents the complete annihilation of the surrounding universe, making it the most important regarding safety. Step 2. Implement thermodynamics-defying shield capacitors, pretty much the same as Step 1. Makes sense to the humans. Step 3. Create a Dyson sphere, or generate similar power output. Penrose sphere or a Kugelblitz. The concept of a Kugelblitz is unknown to the galactic community. Humans have yet to properly explain its function. Apparently, they make a black hole by using a lot of concentrated light. The idea doesn't make much sense, but humans are adamant about their existence. Step 4. Power the thermodynamics-defying shield capacitors with an insane energy device. Step 5. Unleash synthesized strange matter into the Kugelblitz within the shield. This triggers what humans call a false vacuum decay. As with much human theory, we have no idea what they're attempting to explain. How does a vacuum turn into not a vacuum that breaks physics somehow? Step 6. Use the thermodynamics-defying properties of the no longer false vacuum to power the thermodynamics-defying shield capacitors. Somehow, this also generates excess energy that can be used elsewhere. It's a thermodynamics-defying after all. Step 7. Encase ships with the false vacuum bubbles within the true vacuum and move as quickly as you want. This is the FTL step. There is no speed limit within a true vacuum, no sensible physical concepts of space and time either, making it possible to move infinite distance over an infinitely small amount of time. Physics no longer applies. Humans don't even know the reason for this. Step 8. Profit. Literally, you can now create infinite energy out of nothing, as well as travel faster than light. Now that humans have contacted the rest of the galactic community, they've attained some of the standardized FTL drives. Now, instead of relying on slower-than-light drones to set up their FTL highways, they use FTL drones. The construction of human space highways has only sped up as a result, worrying everyone but the humans. They don't seem to think the risks outweigh the rewards. Now, humans consistently pester the galaxy, asking us for permission to build highways through our own sovereign territories. They tell us how safe their technologies are as a reassurance. But in the very next sentence they tell us of the dangers. In the infamous words of the human scientist, Robert Finkov, "Our FTL allows for instantaneous and safe travel across the stars. Please note, however, that in the unlikely event of failure, the entire unshielded universe will be deleted from existence by an invisible force moving at the speed of light." Needless to say, no one has taken them up on their offer as of yet. End of story. I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Cam Maxwell, Caspar Arnholtz, Albarden Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.